Broadcasting from the Business RadioX studio in Alpharetta, it's time for ProfitSense with Bill McDermott.
Good morning. Welcome to ProfitSense. This podcast dives into the stories behind some of Atlanta's successful businesses and business owners and the professionals that advise them. We help local business leaders get the word out about the important work they're doing to serve their market, their community, and their profession. I'm your host, Bill McDermott, and this show is presented by the Profitability Coach. When business owners want to increase their profitability, they don't have the expertise to know where to start or what to do. I leverage my knowledge and relationships from 32 years as a banker to identify the hurdles getting in the way and to create a plan to deliver profitability they never thought possible. We have two great guests on the show today. First, Leslie Bassett with Pridgen Bassett Law. Leslie, welcome. So glad to have you.
Glad to be
Scott
here.
Ward. And Scott Ward. Scott is with Corporate Real Estate Advisors. Scott, welcome to ProfitSense.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
Leslie, we're going to start with you. So tell us a little bit about how Pridgen Bassett Law started. What's that story?
So my law partner, Nancy Pridgen, and I started out our careers as baby lawyers in a large law firm, and we learned how to do ERISA litigation. That's Employee Retirement Income Security Act. It's a law that deals with pension plans, 401k plans, severance issues, generally all employee benefits. So we were trained very well. And then through a series of life circumstances, we ended up back together when Nancy had started her own law practice maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And I made the choice to cycle out of corporate defense work and to cycle into working for employers and employees on a more one-on-one intimate basis to solve their ERISA challenges. So Pridgen Bassett was sort of the culmination of years and years of ERISA experience that Nancy and I both have, and we have a wonderful personal relationship, and it just works for us to be partners in our law endeavors.
So this is almost like you got the old band back. You know, you practiced together somewhat, and then the old band got back together. That's a great story. So I'm guessing that your law practice really differs today from when you were with a larger, more defense-oriented firm. Talk a little bit about that.
That's true. In the large law firm, clients tend to be Fortune 100 companies, larger employers with very complex, sophisticated ERISA issues. And matters tend to be staffed with multiple attorneys doing different parts of the work and things like that. The transition into a little bit more of a smaller practice has allowed me to transition into doing work for individuals and work for sort of smaller employers. And also to just kind of own a project and work one-on-one with the client from sort of a holistic perspective. It's really a very different practice than it was in the larger law firm. Just because we get to form relationships and then work within those relationships to solve businesses, employment problems, employee benefit issues, and things like that. Once you know somebody from that sort of intimate perspective, you can really give them some one-on-one advice.
Absolutely. We're talking with Leslie Bassett with Pridgen Bassett Law. Leslie's provided efficient, creative, energized, and personalized employment and ERISA representation to clients on all sides of employment and benefit matters. So, Leslie, I want to turn now to the types of clients that Pridgen Bassett Law works with on a day-to-day basis. What types of clients do you all work with?
Sure. So we do employee benefits all day, every day. Our clients are generally, employers, employees, and then we do some work for other lawyers. So just breaking that down, employers seek us out for employment-related advice if they've got, employees that they need to manage from a performance perspective, to hedge against litigation issues that might pop up. They consult us on their employee benefits work that has to do with, administering their 401k plans, administering pension plans, severance pay, health benefits, and things like that. And really partnering with them even during, ERISA has an administrative process that's real important for employers to pay attention to so that they can, avoid liability down the road. So our clients are employers. They're also employees. We represent individuals who have employment issues that come up, whether that's an employment transition, like leaving one employer to go to another, and they need some consultation on their severance plan or their severance benefits, or potentially like their employment contract at their new employer. Sometimes some employment issues like discrimination cases and things like that, but primarily employee benefits issues. And then we also represent attorneys. We work with attorneys, particularly in the personal injury space. They have clients who typically have large health bills associated with some catastrophic event or some sort of accident. And those benefits are typically governed by ERISA. And so we work with them to minimize the amount of reimbursement that the client needs to provide to the insurance company or the ERISA plan. Those are the three kind of buckets of people that we help on a daily basis.
Yeah, certainly a very specialized area of law, and one where you and Nancy have both cultivated a significant amount of expertise. I'm wondering, within your practice, what are your favorite types of claims to work with and why?
I love working one-on-one with individuals who are experiencing transition. It's scary to be leaving a job or losing a job and looking for something else. And it's really helpful. I love being a teacher and a counselor in that way with people who are just, in a spot of an unsure situation. And just helping them achieve like the greatest outcome. I think those personal relationships are really rewarding on both sides, especially if we can come to some sort of holistic solution that works for everybody. That is what kind of gets me up in the morning. I love working with employers as well. A lot of the time on the other side of those very issues, I work with individuals on just kind of assessing what the motivations of an individual might be and what the interests of an employer are, and trying to harmonize those so that we don't have to go to litigation. Of course, I am a litigator by trade, so we do spend some time in the courts, and we do file lawsuits on behalf of our clients when it's necessary, and pursue those really vigorously to get the best outcomes for our clients. One of the things I really love about being a litigator is you learn skills that you can apply across any number of different subject matters. Um, sometimes lawyers provide more questions than answers. But when I get to put sort of my litigation skills and my knowledge of, evidence and the law to good work, even during the time of COVID, it's fun. It's fun to pursue good outcomes for clients.
Leslie's helped countless clients navigate employment transition with ease, providing empathetic, efficient employment strategies and solutions to executives, individuals, board of directors, and human resource professionals. Leslie, I'm wondering, COVID has impacted businesses throughout the year last year and continues to a greater and hopefully lesser degree coming up here in the future. But how has COVID affected your business?
Well, I think COVID has affected all businesses, and that kind of trickles down to affecting my business as well. People are trying to navigate this kind of placeless world where, we're all communicating on Zoom and trying to do our jobs remotely. And that is a struggle for employers, employees alike. To modify their practices, to figure out, for instance, how an employer is going to manage an employee who's working remotely, and make sure that they're achieving their performance objectives and things like that. It's really tough to be an employer right now. And in some instances, it's tough to be an employee too. I mean, employers are having to make real tough decisions about what is essential to the running of their business, and the changes that COVID has presented in terms of the placelessness and potentially challenged businesses to become more efficient, and in turn need to lay off or to terminate employees. Helping the employers navigate those transitions and the employees as well has been really novel in these times. So I'd say, our business has sort of counterintuitively, or maybe in contrast to a lot of other businesses, our business has been, maybe doubled over the time of COVID, just working to help people to manage through this time. So you've got the health issues, and then you've got the business issues. It's just a time of transition for everyone. And employers and employees alike need good counsel to help them through that. Yeah,
there's no question. In case we either have an employer or an employee in the listening audience that has an ERISA matter, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Sure. Our website is pridgenbassett.com. That's sort of the best way to find our information, but they can also just shoot me an email. I'm accessible. And my email is Leslie, Leslie at Pridgen Bassett, Pridgen Bassett, BASSETT.com. We're super responsive. That's something that we pride ourselves on, and just reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation.
Well, sharing the insights on a very important aspect of the law and the expertise that you bring to the table has been very evident in the interview. I really appreciate your time and coming on the show today. Thank you.
You're welcome, Bill. Thanks for having me.
And now we're going to switch over to Scott Ward. Scott's with Corporate Real Estate Advisors. Scott, you've been in several industries. Tell me about why and how you transformed from a writer-producer to small business owner to now commercial real estate. I want to hear that story, and I know our listeners do too.
Bill, thanks. This is a wonderful invitation. And I say I like to tell stories that make businesses money. So we always remember things in that way. But yes, I've always had a bit of a theater bent. And so I was in the advertising industry as a writer, producer for marketing businesses, and just got that, saw the owner walking in one day and late, and he probably worked at home from early, but he had the freedom to schedule himself. And I said, you know what, why not me? Why not me? And so I began the discovery process of different businesses, and I ran across a franchise called Play It Again Sports. And being a bit of a tree hugger, that landed perfectly because it was recycling, but of sports equipment and kids. And so it became a bit of It's a Wonderful Life business for me. And a part of that was becoming very involved in the community. As I started to transition phase out of that, kids were getting out of school, and I always wanted to build another business, do something different. I realized that being a part of your community, a lot of our decisions in our community are controlled by property values, property taxes, all issues involving property, and I thought, well, hey, that just seems to be another extension of being a part of the community. And since I have signed leases and grown up all over Metro Atlanta, I'm probably one of the few practicing commercial real estate professionals who's actually had to balance a P&L, budget, balance sheet, human resources, to Leslie's, all of those hats. And so I really lean on the advisor word in corporate real estate advisors. So yeah. I love to have a conversation. And the first thing I do is say, what's your business like? How's your cash flow? Let's sculpt a creative solution. And it may or may not involve an actual lease or something different, but perhaps I can help there.
We're talking to Scott Ward. Scott's currently a speaker, franchise consultant, and a partner in corporate real estate advisors, providing conflict-free tenant and buyer representation for businesses and commercial real estate leasing. So, Scott, I'm envious. I see you've written a book. I'd love to write one. It's probably up in my head, but it hasn't come out. So tell me about that.
Sure, absolutely. So here it is. It's called Scabs, Scars, and Pots of Gold. True life story.
I love the name.
Successful franchisee. So it has to do with stories, true life stories. And so it really just follows. It's a bit of the like Who Moved My Cheese or Chicken Soup for the Soul. It just follows the storyline of my learning curve through my franchise and small business ownership. And I came by realizing I needed to write this really from a customer. And again, I'm telling them a story about something going sideways. Could be with employees, could be with, customer relations, vendor. And he's like, man, you got to write this stuff down. And so I did. And it's been a lot of fun with that. A lot of fun.
Yeah. For our listeners, if they want to snag a copy, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. It is on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. And you can also get it. I'm about to come out with the audio version. So several different ways to get it but basically go on Amazon, or I do have a website, scottbward.net. But
great. Well, hopefully I'm going to snag a copy for myself and read it as well.
That'd be great.
I want to now switch. So obviously, being the profitability coach, I'm always interested in stories about profitability. And so tell me about a challenge that you overcame in keeping your business profitability. And then maybe as a follow-up, what you would tell other business owners to do to stay profitable. So kind of a two-part question.
Sure. So one of the things that as I grew, I had this big dream, 10 locations in 10 years, sell it all, do something else. But I realized that the cash flow, no matter how profitable your business is, if your cash flow stinks, your life stinks. And we all have these time management workshops we go to, which really are lifestyle management. But so the cash flow, I realized it became an unprofitable position was when I tried to grow too fast. And I said, okay, I took this amount of money. I started one store. I should be able to do that for a second store with the same amount of money. Well, when it got to third and fourth stores, you thought, I could still do that with the same amount of money. It really became, you really needed more money for stores 3, 4, and 5 because your personal involvement in each store became less and less and less. And that affects profitability directly. And the dominoes fall into each other. And so my key thing for someone would be to grow smartly, ask the right questions, get the right people like Leslie, people like myself when you're going into long-term liability, like a lease or something of that nature. So you're just plan on it costing a little bit more money. And that might seem counterintuitive. Wait, I'm trying to stay profitable. I need to be lean, but it will come around and bite you if you do not plan for your investment to grow properly.
Yeah, I have a saying that growth always requires cash and growth always increases complexity. So as far as kind of a follow-up to this, what would you tell other business owners to do to stay profitable?
So start off with good systems and maintain those systems and don't get distracted. So for me, my systems were in the 4 categories of inventory, people, marketing, and then just your basic processes in around your particular location or whatever your infrastructure. So and stick to it and stay consistent. So stay consistent with your training. And if you get those systems started out early when you're small, when you don't really think you need them, and it's easy to skip a meeting and easy to not do that on a regular basis. I'll do that when I get bigger. That's a surefire way to trip yourself up. So I would suggest get your systems in place early. It's a little bit like when you go into the military. The way you've been tying your shoes your whole life is the wrong way. So
we're talking with Scott Ward with Corporate Real Estate Advisors. Corporate Real Estate Advisors is a privately owned real estate firm that provides tenant representation and site selection expertise exclusively for tenants and buyers of office, industrial, and retail space. So, Scott, there's a lot of competition in commercial real estate out there. People buy differences. They don't buy similarities. So how do you set yourself apart?
Well, because I, again, have been one of the few practicing commercial real estate professionals to have to balance my own sheet and sign my own leases and be responsible for the things of a business, I relate very well to people who feel cash flow, CEOs, CFOs, facilities managers, office managers. Those are great people I love having conversations with because we just click. I totally understand their day-to-day, stress points. And so that's what I relate to. And so that's why I exclusively represent businesses, not landlords. We feel that it's an ultimate, really conflict of interest there. And we like to keep it clean. So that is my niche all the way. Let me sort of be that understands your cash flow.
Yeah, that is so important. So let's talk a little bit about opportunities. What opportunities do you currently see for businesses now?
We kind of talked about that a little bit in the pre-discussion, a little bit about, isn't it nice to be an expert in a field when there's a lot of uncertainty? And in real estate right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. People are like, oh, what do I do? Nobody's leasing. Well, the one thing in leasing is that leases have an end date. You really can't put that off. Your lease ends. And so those leases are still ending. What we do see are a lot of people doing lease extensions for shorter times to give themselves some time to figure out what is going to go on in our world. We do see a lot of subleases coming on, and that presents opportunity. So if you are a business that has 20 to 40,000 square feet, you might say, well, we don't need this much space anymore. We can represent you in subleasing that space. That's an opportunity to help your cash flow. It also helps your employees feel better about coming in. You've been proactive in managing your space. The other thing is perhaps you have 40,000 square feet and your lease is ending. You can take advantage of one of those subleases. And in particular, we have one right now that has 6 years left on the sublease. The potential savings in that 6-year time, it's a 23,000 square foot high-tech, built out, beautiful furnishings, tons of furniture and fixtures. $1.3 million over 6 directly to the business's bottom line. If you're in 40,000 square feet and you want to downsize to 23, it's a huge savings. So those are the types of opportunities that are out there. And that's happening in smaller spaces too. The other opportunity is if you're a developer and you can find some space to build a warehouse, I think banks are they love, we're seeing a huge demand for flex space and industrial space.
Sure.
So those are two specific areas.
So Scott, writer, producer for radio and television marketing, entrepreneur, running a business with multiple locations, now doing tenant representation. A lot of lessons learned through all of those experiences. Share with our listening audience, what's the hardest lesson you've learned in business?
Don't think you know it all too quick. There's definitely, we're positive people, entrepreneurs. We're go, I can do this. And that's awesome. By God, I call it my Scarlett O'Hara moment. You're gnawing on I'll never go hungry again, but it's good to back up and say, wow, I need some help. And again, started early, build even an informal board of directors for yourself of people to just ask questions that have more experience, mentorship, coaches, financial advisors. I so wish that I had done that, sort of backed up and asked for people like that to help me instead of just kind of winging it.
Yeah, and if I could maybe spend a little more time on that, I'm also a big believer in having a personal board of advisors. From your perspective, are there key people that are kind of non-negotiable that you feel should be on that board of advisors for a business owner?
Yes, I think 3 to 4 key people. And one is a CPA who actually does surefire CPA work, not just a glorified bookkeeper, because I've seen both with CPA, credentials, but make sure you're getting the right reports and being advised on those things. And then a financial advisor to sort of mesh your business and your personal, because that's really ultimately where we're going. Right. People like yourself to help with creative financing and then coaching. Again, that's huge. That's something the CPA is not going to do. It's a financial advisor is not going to do, but you've been inside of businesses and you've seen them succeed and fail. And I would bet you might even, it's kind of like a pro athlete. There's some that have the best skills in the world, but they don't look for coaching and improvement. And then there's that guy that's out there just a grinder. He's that B talent person, but he's grinding and learning, and their ultimate over a period of their career is going to go a lot further and ultimately be more successful and get in the Hall of Fame.
There you go. And those types of advisors are absolutely critical. I couldn't agree with you more. So if we have a listener or listeners out there that are looking for tenant representation, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Scott?
Sure. So you can, of course, look to our website, which it's creaglobal.us. That's CREA for corporate real estate advisors, CREA global.us. And then, of course, I'd love to have a conversation, even if it's just a quick question, whether it involves a lease or not. Maybe just email me at sward, SWARD, at ITRA Global, ITRA global.com. ITRA is actually, we're part of the International Tenant Rep Association, and that's where that comes from.
Great. Well, Scott, it's been wonderful having you on the show. I love the perspective that you bring, and I love those stories. And I'm going to snag a copy of your book, too. So thank you so much for coming on ProfitSense today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you, Bill. Hope we help some folks.
I feel confident both of you have. If you want to keep up with the latest in pro-business news, follow us on social media for the latest stories. If you want to listen to future ProfitSense podcasts, you can find us on ProfitSenseRadio.com. ProfitSense is SENSE. This is ProfitSense with Bill McDermott signing off. Make it a great day.